I'd like to call to order the Wyoming Valley West School District work session for Wednesday, May 1st at 7:35 PM. Roll call, please.
Mr. Wilson,
Here.
Mr. Tabascus,
Here.
Mr. Hardwick,
Here.
Mr. Keating, Mr. McGinley,
Present.
Mr. Perfetto,
Here. Here.
Mr. Kubuski,
Here.
Mrs. Cassatt. Here. Mr. Camus.
Here. A moment of silence followed by the salute to the flag. Mr. Tosh, would you mind?
I would like to ask all those in attendance on the Zoom tonight, please keep in your thoughts and prayers Pam Domas. Pam Domas recently passed away. She was a 32-year professional employee here in the Wyoming Valley West District that was very respected as a science teacher here in the middle school.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to announce there was an executive session held prior to this meeting, and I apologize for the board's tardiness. It was for personnel items. No one from, no. Committee reports, Mr. Tabascus, would you kick us off?
Sure. So just an update on a couple of things for athletic committee. The turf has been completed. The new installation, Keystone Sports did a fantastic job. We'll probably post some pictures here sooner or later, but did a great job. So that project has been completed. The second project that was going on is the dugouts at the softball field. They've been completed. Well, let's just say they're 99% complete. Couple little odds and ends to finish up, but it came out very nice. So those two projects went well and gonna be a nice graduation with that new field and new turf. It'll look awesome. So the only thing I did want to mention about additional projects going on or potential projects for athletics specifically would be our track replacement. For those who weren't on the board, the track used to be at the stadium. There wasn't enough room with the new turf. And technically it actually didn't meet PIAA standards where it was at. It was too short. So we moved the track up to high school, the track, which we allow people to walk around and use and stuff, but that's pretty worn out. So they just finished the track season, or will finish it in the next couple of weeks. We received a bid back in August from Keystone Sports, the same people that did our turf, to redo the track. Estimated cost back in August was $372,000. I know we don't have it in the budget this year, and our budget's, coming down to the end there. So I'd like to consider adding that to our budget for next year. And since the proposal was over 6 months, I asked to get a new proposal to see if the rates change at all. That they probably will change a little bit, cost wise. So Keystone Sports will be giving us a bid on that, hopefully here in the next couple of weeks, that we could forward to everybody.
And they're the same ones, Brian, that did our turf.
Are they the only
They are
ones?
CoStar's vendors, right?
Right. Yeah.
So we would not have to be bidding that or engineering.
I don't think so. No.
Are they the only company that does such things?
No, but they're pretty well known. Even when we found them this time, they're good to work with. They really are. Then just take a walk down, look at the stadium, very professional, and did a great job down there.
So I'd personally be in favor of that if you can get that quote and Mr. Kachar could somehow see if he can work magic into this budget. If that's even possible. Does anybody else have any comment on that? We'll see what we can do, Brian.
Okay. I did have something I wanted to talk about. We got a request from one of our local baseball travel organizations to use our baseball field 2 hours a night for June and July. And I'm not sure they're going to fill out a form and submit it, but it's something they're willing to pay to use our field. Right now, they use a field up in Scranton, and so these travel ball organizations have kids from multiple districts, so it's not just our kids. So they're looking at a place a little more central for their group to have practices at. We got a commitment. One of the members of the group is actually a teacher in our school district, and it helps with the baseball. And our head baseball coach is involved with this travel league as well. So they're just looking for a place to, to have practice 2 hours a week for, I think, 8 or 10 weeks. I don't know the exact hour. And they're willing to pay for it. He mentioned $1,000 or something like that. I guess from my perspective, we did get a request for our field from the Legion, but we didn't allow that because we've never allowed people to use that field for baseball, because we don't maintain that field in baseball playing condition for the whole summer. We may cut the grass and stuff, but we're not lining it. We're not dragging the field. We're not doing that. So
Brian, may I ask, are we allowing Legion to use State Street or no?
State, we gave him permission to use
Okay,
state.
that's what I thought.
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
wanted to clarify.
Yeah, just not our, this is a field down in Kingston, and it's gated and you need keys and all that. So, I was asked to, bring it to the board if we would consider allowing them to do that, to use that field at a rate, and we could establish a rate, whatever that rate may be, maybe $1,000. I don't know. But, it's something that, the board would have to consider and vote on. I don't know if anybody has any thoughts or.
What's our
Is there precedent
liability
with
on something like that?
Legion?
So what
Still
they have,
from
their
other
group would provide liability insurance.
So they would provide.
So when we fill out the form, they would assume all liability for use on that field through their insurance policy. So we would not be liable. Now, maybe our solicitor may have a
Do
different.
we have a standard rental agreement or that we?
We years ago created a little bit of a standard rates for the football field, because the PIAA will ask us to do but I don't think we've ever done one for the baseball field.
So what's different between the Legion and this group? Because you said no to the Legion, but you're gonna, so what's the
Well,
difference?
the
That's
only,
all I'm asking.
right, the only difference was, I guess, and maybe I didn't get enough detail from the Legion. The Legion wanted to practice there, and it was my assumption that it was gonna be on a daily basis. So if it was a daily basis, there'd be a lot of maintenance that we would be required to do to maintain that field. Now, I don't know about games. So Legion really wasn't, I could go back and ask
I mean, he
Legion
didn't
what.
want to pay, they didn't want to pay.
No, and to be quite honest, the Legion, it's a Swearsville Legion, and 100% of the kids are Valley West kids. They're from this area.
Mhm.
The travel ball, definitely not. There are some Valley West kids that are involved with it, but it's definitely, and any travel organization, everyone who's been a parent of a kid who plays travel in any sport, they are a money-making organization. They make money. These travel organizations make money. I don't know how much they make, but they're charging to play on a travel team, for example, averages probably $1,000 to $2,000 just to be a member of that team, which doesn't include your travel, your all the other expenses that come with tournaments and stuff. So, again, I mean, if they're willing to pay for it and it's 2 hours a week, I think we could consider it. If we get a commitment from them that they'll maintain the field and do what they got to do to if they want to rake it or whatever, I think we could consider it, but I don't want to put any more of a burden on our custodial staff to maintain that field in a playable condition. So I don't know, what the consensus would be. Maybe think about it, and kind of go from there.
Does anybody have any thoughts on it?
I like the suggestion of making sure that they maintain it for sure. But fields are meant to be played on. If it sits idle all summer long, who knows what it's gonna look like. So I wouldn't be opposed to somebody using it. But like Janet said, we did deny somebody, so I'm not quite sure where we're gonna go from there, what the board decides, but
It's just we
Brian,
did one.
Legion hasn't
That's all.
started yet, so we could as a board, if we decided to allow Legion. And personally, I mean, me as a veteran, it was hard for me to say no to the Legion. But I think if we consider giving it to, or letting this, it's Northeast Pride is the name of the organization. Allowing them to use it, even if it's I would go back to the Legion and, you know, talk to them about, I'm not gonna say every day and playing games there, you
I
know,
think
but.
they wanted it as a backup, didn't they, the Legion? Because they have.
Well,
13.
yeah, according to our athletic director, they wanted it for practice and possibly games and it wasn't a lot of definition. Admittedly, we don't have all the definition from, but we did tell them that we traditionally don't let people get on that field. You know, up at State Street, the field up there, you know, there's no issues up there, but plus it's gated, you know, so we need someone there to lock it and all, and that, all that, you know, and then, you know, we just did pay, you know, almost $750,000 to get a turf, you know, redone. Do we want giving keys out to that facility?
Can they use State Street? Like we offered it to,
Yeah, that's a good, yeah,
you know, trying to be consistent, you know?
yeah, I mean, that's an option to use State Street if they want to use that field up there.
So. Well, obviously, we can't make a decision this evening, but. Can we look to see if we have a rental use form?
We do have a facility, well, we have a facility, so our facilities form, if you look at it, it asks for the insurance, and on that form is actually an agreement that you could write in what you want to charge for it. So we could charge whatever we want and put on there. We don't have any per se standard rates for that.
Well, I mean, just my humble opinion is that. If we do this. I think we should have a rental form if we want to allow them. So to keep it, our board, this board and future boards. Here's the document that we started, you know, it's $2,000 for the season, $1,000, whatever the board decides. You want to use one of our other fields, it's $1,000.
Yeah, we had those years ago, Rick. I'm not even sure where we'd look for them, but I could look for them. Anthony, maybe we'll look in some archives for. Actually, I think
The archives.
the archives, I think Jimmy Roberts, I think, created the original form, so it was several years ago.
I mean, you can create your own too.
Yeah, we could create
We
a,
could recreate.
I mean, it's
the
just,
original
it's just my opinion, you know, maybe just so, here's a form, we're not charging you 1,500 and this team
Right,
500.
consistency, for sure.
yeah, in the past, the board has always, you know, we talked about it, is that if it's our kids and it's a non-for-profit, like obviously the Legion is not a profit organization. I would feel bad charging the Legion, especially our kids to use to use any field. But I think a team, you know, if they're willing to pay for it like a profit organization, then they should pay for it, you know, and
Man,
Brian. It seemed like the Legion was a hard no right from the beginning. I did have a problem with that. I'm familiar with the travel leagues and all that. I think if we gave the Legion a no, then the travel league should be a no. That's just right from the beginning. Or go back to the Legion and say, but the Legion can't afford what the travel league is. So.
yeah, we've always had the option to waive the fees, but if we could set a pay schedule and it's the board's option, whether we, you know, and typically for everything, like whether it's the LIU, whether it's whoever using our facilities, we don't charge them either. So again, yeah, it's just something to talk about. I guess I could, I'd like to go back to the Legion and talk to our athletic directors. They could give us more specifics on exactly how they want to use the field and stuff like that. And I don't think we should, I mean, like everybody, fields are at a premium around here. There's just not a lot of quality fields.
Practice is one thing, but if it's going to be games, I mean, you're just opening up a whole nother
To-
layer
right,
of
right.
liability of people coming, you have more garbage and rubbish and more congestion, traffic, you know, issues
And make
with,
sure that they clean and maintain. and,
right.
You know,
I would just say, we need to have a written rental agreement in writing that says liability, cleanup, you know, the rental fee and such.
It's probably our teacher who's watching the board meeting who wants to have input.
It's the Legion coming after.
Yeah, well, they'll be mad at me because, you know,
The Legion's
Anything
chiming in.
else?
no, not right now. No. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Mr. McGinley, do you have anything this evening or you want to wait till next? week?
Well, no. I just want to mention a couple things if I may. First of all, on the policy, you know, you have a whole list there and this would be the second reading coming up. If you remember from last month's meeting, we had a young lady come to the podium and ask some questions in this regard. We had a meeting the following Tuesday after the board meeting. She was invited. She was not available for whatever reason. She indicated that she would be sending any questions.
Okay,
And at this point in time, I checked Monday. No one has any information from that young lady that spoke. So we did try to deal with what she was interested in. She was offered the chance to come to meetings. She was offered a chance to submit something. Just, probably more importantly, number 7, under staff recommended action. Mr. Shook, who is our, that's his, request for board. No, it's 37, excuse me, under our first section, which is general recommendation. Mr. Shook, who is the department chair for the math. He made a presentation Monday morning, 10 o'clock. I believe that was all sent out to every board member, all the information. It's the time when we have to be doing things such as changing the math series. Because some series go out, they don't keep the series current, you don't have the resources, etc. So you have to make a change. Mr. Shook really did a great job. He brought forth teachers from every grade level, K to 5, different buildings. He really put a very nice system in place. They reviewed 3 different vendors who had submitted information. And they have a recommendation, which will be on hopefully next week's board meeting. They spoke with Mr. Karachik in regards to the business office and the expense involved. They covered all that. I think they really did a great job. And, you know, when you see something of that nature, how well they did it and what they did as far as the procedure, I think that's really important for the district. I think the teachers who are in the classroom who are working with this series really had input and really come up with, I think, a very good recommendation. So I think you should get a lot of credit for Mr. Novraki also was involved in that and the building principals, but it was really a great team that he put together.
excellent. That's great to hear. And thanks to Mr. Shook and Mr. Navraki. Anything else, Mr. McGinley?
I think I said enough.
Mr. Hardwick, under Essers or special education?
Yes, and Anthony, I'm gonna start. My phone's on vibrate, so I wasn't the one doing it. Essers, I'm gonna start and just say, if you quietly listen, Essers is in process. You can hear folks on the roof, you can hear folks behind us. So, Essers moves forward. As we all know, Essers 1 is completed. Essers 2 is winding down, very close to completion, and Essers 3 is in process to be completed. Well, Kim would like us, and I'm sure Rob would like us to make sure everything's done by August 30th for the financial side of it. So that's the goal. But projects obviously will be ongoing past those timeframes. I will also, just if I may, I know Paul's not here. On the personnel committee, we will be interviewing tomorrow for Assistant Director of Special Education, High School Social Studies and Business Education, and High School Spanish teacher. And as far as special education, the committee did meet. We met on Tuesday, Mario Barada, Mr. Tosh, Jack Perfetto, myself. I know Brian wasn't able to make it. We went over current due process cases as well as potential future. And that's about where I'll leave it at. That's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Hardwick. Okay, under buildings and grounds, a couple months ago, there was a meeting held with buildings and grounds. We discussed adding in a job position. The committee went forward with it. I thought it was a great kind of thing. Mr. Tosh, Mr. Kucharik, Myra, and Mr. Wendelowski worked on a job description, presented this board with the job description. I thought the job description was very well done. At this point, does anybody else have anything else to add or comment on as to how they feel?
Is that one updated, that job description?
So the one that was presented last month is still the one that's standing. Mr. Tosh, do you feel this district has a necessity for this position?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think the number of students in this district, the size of the district, the age of the buildings, I think it would be very beneficial for the district to have the position. Absolutely.
Do you feel as though there is an immediate need, or do you think this can be pushed to November, December?
Well, because of the amount of work that's being done by site log in a number of the buildings, we have a gentleman right now, who's temporary buildings and grounds, Mr. Cordis, who I have to say is doing an absolutely fantastic job. However, with everything going on with site log and with the schedule being as aggressive as it is, especially in this building, as well as Third Ave over the summer, I think it's something that we need to look at ASAP.
Mr. Kuchar, do you have anything, what are your thoughts on that position?
My thoughts are it is definitely needed. Just it's definitely needed position.
Mr. Camus, I don't doubt that a position like that is needed. But I think I have some questions of a personnel that probably shouldn't be asked out here, that maybe need to in an executive session. I mean, I can ask them if you want, but I think because it is there's employees that are going to be affected by that position.
So this is a new position. I don't see how.
You're creating a new position to supervise another position. Right?
No, it's an operations manager and like facilities manager is what it is.
He'll have one direct report. Well, I mean, he may end up with multiple through a chain, but he'll have one direct report. Correct?
Who?
This new position.
Oh, well, he would go up to Mr. Kuchar or Mr. Tosh.
I think we're down though. Who would report to him?
Who would report to?
To this new position that you're creating? Direct report, one person, right? Who?
Kind of, he would be responsible for,
I don't think I can even say.
he would be responsible for all buildings. Right.
That's my personnel, like that, so that's, I don't think I could say that here.
Well, it's better suited for executive session.
So to that point, our solicitors, our legal team looked at that. You know, they were fine with it. So does anybody else have anything to add?
I have reservations about the job description, yes. And I think it's not here to talk about it. Maybe an executive.
Well, we tried that, didn't work. Mr.
I
McGinley was gonna
just don't
present a
like the
job
description.
description, that didn't work. So I, as the chair, am presenting this to the public.
Okay.
To let them know that, you know, we have $21 million worth of work running unsupervised.
To that point, Mr. Camus, I will say that position with all the work that we have going on, there needs to be somebody to be almost a project manager to supervise. There's a lot of money going in these buildings. But when you do tours at these buildings and talk to administration and faculty, one of the number one things you hear is about the facilities and the condition they're in, so I can't see an argument against needing a position like this, so.
We have a roof up at our high school that we paid a little over $1 million for that's leaking, that we have no one looking into it. What- It's still leaking currently. We have no one looking into it.
We're a large school district. I mean, there's a lot of buildings, the facilities need attention, obviously, so.
It's not getting it.
Correct.
Proper care. The buildings aren't getting proper care.
We have a cafeteria at Dana Street that the plaster fell that we had remediated for under emergency situation, but we still have to put that back together. That we're not getting done. We were threatened by the state that if we do not have our cafeteria in this building done by August, we can't open this building. I mean, I know it's not this board's responsibility to manage all that, but I also don't think it's Mr. Tosh's or Mr. Kachar's either. I think our current setup is great. I think we need to add a manager in there, so there's assistants. In the past, there's been an assistant in that in positions. There's been a supervisor and an assistant. In the business office, there's always been a manager and an assistant. I don't know. It's always been this way. For some reason, we're not following through. I get flow charts are great. They are, they work. They're manageable, but at the end of the day, flow charts don't work if you have a broken system, and our system right now is broken. So we're being reactive instead of proactive to everything we have done. Some of these board members spent the better half of 4 months doing an asset management. 2 years ago, we received that, and that asset study has never been implemented into our budget currently. Now going into the 24th, the next year, that's still not going to be in. And Mr. Kachar does not know how to properly present a budget for all these buildings that are rapidly deteriorating, that have exceeded their life expectancies by 10. Maybe not by 10, but have exceeded their life expectancy. I said what I have to say. I'm going to ask Mr. Tosh to put this on the agenda. You could vote no, but I know where I stand.
Mr.
I would
Case.
add a comment, Mr. Chairman. The first simple part to this, I don't think anybody sitting up here denies the fact that the position is warranted, that we need it. I think the challenge is 9 of us coming up with the idea of what that position will be, the responsibilities of what it will be. And I don't know that we're ever gonna get 100% agreement on it, but I do think we all have to take a look at the big picture of this, as well as the immediate needs, and keep those in mind as we move forward this week and next week as it's presented up for vote. So I would just ask everybody to make sure we do those two parts. There's a awesome immediate need for someone of that caliber. And then the long-term structure to put somebody in that position, to me, is invaluable. And I think it's a perfect opportunity to move forward with that. So that's my 2 cents.
Mr. Camus,
Yes.
if I can. Went over to see the stadium with the turf, and they really did a great job. And, you know, Mr. DeVasquez deserves a lot of credit. Taking that task on and getting it done, especially in light of the fact that's what graduation is. But when I was there, I took a walk over to the visitor side. And, you know, when I looked at the stands on the visitor side, you know, I think they need attention. So what I guess I'm gonna ask is the Buildings and Grounds Committee, if it can make time to look at that, to see, you know, what can be done, what kind of remediation or whatever. But the stadium is a beautiful facility, I think, in a lot of ways. And that's not beautiful right now.
So thank you, Mr. McGinley. And honestly, to my point of what I just asked this board to consider.
Yeah.
So it's not this board's job to take that on and work on that. So I know about that. I am well aware of it. That's actually been like that for probably about 7 years and rapidly deteriorating. That wall is bad, the railing's bad. I get it. Me and Mr. Tabasco spoke about it, what, 2, 3 weeks ago? We know about it. We all know about it. We could ask our engineers to look into it, design it and put some stuff out to bid if that's what you would like to do.
Well, I think Buildings and Grounds has that obligation as a committee, right?
Right.
To come back with a recommendation to the total board. You know, you're getting ready, like you indicated several times tonight, for a budget.
Yep.
For next school year, starting July 1.
Right.
So is that something we should be considering as part of our budget? You know, with the stadium, we just, put a nice number there to put the turf in. It really looks great. You want to make sure that everything else sort of matches that. That's my opinion. But I would ask the Buildings and Grounds because that's, the committee's work to look at that and see what recommendation they may have.
So Mr. Tosh, to that effect, or Mr. Kachar, either of the two of you could chime in. Do we have an employee that could work with an engineer to get that done?
Well, off the top of my head, only because Dave Portis has been down there previously assigned to that. I think he would probably be right now the most qualified employee we have.
Okay, could you assign that to him tomorrow?
Yep.
Anything else?
On Buildings and Grounds, I have a few questions.
Go ahead.
Any updates on the wood still at the high school?
So I think we're at the point, I'm assuming, because it's still there when I was there Sunday. I think we could probably ask a private contractor to come in and haul it out. Again, that wasn't figured into the job, so I don't know where that's at. I mean, we could have Mr. Tosh ask Dave about that tomorrow. Just try to figure that out.
The concern is we did also approve that same contractor to cut some more trees down. Right? Isn't the same contractor gonna cut some more trees down for us?
So I would believe that it is, but again, that wasn't, though, that wood removal was not in the contract.
But it was in the previous contract. That's, I'm just pointing it
Not that I'm
out.
Aware of.
As long as we're on trees, it was brought to my attention, there's some at Chester Street, across the street in front, that I believe that would probably be Kingston. They have a tree committee.
They do.
Yeah, so I know we had some trees trimmed over there a few months ago, but maybe over the summertime, something to look at, is those trees over there are breaking and dead in the
So-
center.
Those trees should not have been pruned without a permit. So we would have to have an employee go down and get a permit from Kingston. Again, if we have someone that could do that for us.
I think they might have to come down. They're dead in the center. One of them's dead in the center.
So again, we would have to apply and or,
Okay. I'm just bringing it to attention.
Yep.
And then the last one I have is any movement on the art supplies at Turkey Street.
no.
Mark,
Uh,
I'm sorry, I can't, it's hard to hear, right? Brian down here? If you
My,
would
my
mind.
question was, is there any movement on the art supplies at Turkey Street? Are we gonna do anything with that?
Yeah,
Can we?
Mr. Tosh, could you touch base with me tomorrow? Maybe we could
Yeah.
figure out what we could do with those.
I know we've offered to some of the other school districts and they already had them, but I'll touch base with you.
If you wouldn't mind, we'll see
Yeah.
what we could do and maybe report back for next week
Okay.
to see if we can get any ground on it.
Yep.
Anything else? Under general recommended action items, number 1 through 37, do we have any questions? Staff recommended action items, items 1 through 7. Any questions or concerns?
I have one question.
Yes.
Number 4, the cleaner position for Dana Street and high school. Is that a traveling position? I just see that it says Dana and it says high school. How does that work? I'm just not familiar with it. Is it as needed?
What, I'm
You mean
sorry,
the
what?
cleaner?
did you say?
Yeah,
They clean where they are needed, right?
that's what I'm asking. Does that person, I'm assuming,
I can't, I am not well versed in that. I don't know.
that's,
I'm not certain how,
I'm sorry, I missed what name were you looking at?
Arthur. Right? Arthur Parsons?
Yeah, and there may be another one. I'm just wondering, like, there's one, the middle school and
Those are-
Dana Street.
Those are
transfers.
transfers. That's where they start, and
Oh,
where
okay.
they're going. So the first one he was at, so that position's a little bit, the cleaner at the middle school to custodian at Dana Street. That's a transfer.
Okay. All right, I see it now.
Right,
I-
was a cleaner, now is gonna be a
Going to
custodian.
But was Art Parsons a transfer or is that a new hire?
Transfer from cleaner at Dana.
Yeah, so
to
the cleaners
custodian.
and the custodians are technically underneath the same contract, so they could bid in from a cleaner to a custodian.
They're on the support staff contract.
Okay. Thank you.
You good, Mark?
Thank you.
Excellent. All right, moving on, Mr. Chart, do you have anything under yours?
No, again, we are slowly trudging through the budget. It's a challenge, I'm gonna be honest with you, just from a discovering process of how it was done in the past.
I just wanted to mention from financial, we have the budget for West Side CTC here that we had to approve on. Maybe I was late on voting on that, but so when you look at the total budget of West Side CTC, it's 5.5 million, of which Valley West, and I compare, I don't know who did these colors, but it's hard to read,
Mr. Halfield.
is about 3.3 million, which is roughly 60% of their budget comes from Valley West. However, if you think about it, because of the way that that's configured up there with that consortium, we actually own, because of the districts, we have 20% of the vote. So somehow, if I was a taxpayer, and I am, I should start going to those meetings and understand why voting on how they're spending money, we only get 20% of the vote, but pay 60%. Our taxpayers in this area pay 60% of the bill up there. It's an interesting question. Maybe we could bring that up at the next meeting.
Well, I think that has been posed in the past before.
Thank you.
And I think you know what happened at that point.
They're very, very good though. I mean.
Oh, no, the school does a great job and I think
Yeah.
we should have more students there, but I think that it's an odd way of doing voting on a budget where your taxpayers, I mean, they don't pay a lot up to go there, but anyway, thank you.
I share your concerns, Brian. I see it. You know, it's, we pay. Without us, the school wouldn't really operate.
It couldn't.
Well, we're the biggest. These-
Board member comments, go around the table. Mr. McGinley, you have
No, not at this time. Thank you.
Mr. Kapusky?
I would just like to say that I stopped to see the new turf. It is beautiful. Good job, Brian, and everybody else.
Pretty exciting. It really is. Mr. Perfetto, do you have anything?
No, I'm good.
Thank you. Mr. Wilson?
Yeah, just the turf. I was able to go down there and see it. It looks great. The softball dugouts look great. And not only is football playing on that field, it's gonna be other sports field, hockey, soccer, so it's a multi-purpose field, which is great for the district. And just because it's on the agenda, we'll probably have another meeting, but congratulations to the class of 2024. And have a safe summer.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Mr. Hardwick?
Everything Nick said.
Excellent. Mrs. Casat?
I have to get to the field yet, but it looks beautiful from what I saw, so kudos to everyone involved.
Mr. Vasquez?
I think I said enough today. Rick.
I agree. Can I second that?
He had his work out for the day.
By the way, Mr. Damascus is a drone operator, I think.
No, I didn't do that. Turf Logic, they did that. They had their drone.
They were cool pictures.
Mr. Tosh, do you have anything?
Just kudos to the athletic committee with the turf and the dugouts. They look terrific, as you said, and I want to thank Mr. McGinley, Mr. Navraki, Mr. Kucheruk, and especially Doug Shook. I was not able to attend that presentation. I was actually in my office working on a couple other things, and I did get bits and pieces of it. And I think they did a terrific job looking at this K-5 math series. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Tosh. I have nothing this evening. What? Oh, yeah. Our next meeting is, next Wednesday here at 7 PM. And I promise we won't be late. May I have a motion to